In the cold silence of space, where the starlight fades into black, a message drifted across forgotten relays and decaying satellites. It traveled like a ghost, slow, steady, impossible to trace back to its origin. For 1,000 years, the galaxy had forgotten Earth. They said the human homeworld was gone, swallowed by gravitational tides, erased by its own hubris, or perhaps simply lost to time. Most believed humanity to be extinct, or worse, devolved into scattered nomads, to broken to matter. The Council of Core Civilizations had declared them a dead species, a closed file. But then came the message. The signal was short, grainy, distorted by radiation and age, but unmistakably human. What had started as a scientific outpost had become a last bastion. 300 years since the silence when Earth went dark and the rest of humanity fell into chaos. 3 centuries of isolation, starvation, war, and survival. But they had made it. Vines and dust partially hid the symbol etched into them, a broken eagle with wings of flame, the old insignia of the Terran Imperial Navy. It broke through the black void with a voice calm, resolute, and terrifyingly clear. This is Earth Colony, AEO 917, Eden's Fall. We were the last. You left us here. You abandoned us. By then, it had already reached the core systems. And with it came the one thing the galaxy feared most: memory. Its name, long forgotten even by its inhabitants, was now only whispered in the few remaining databanks of the old Earth Confederacy. S-Fall. It wasn't just a message, it was a memory, a Terran lullaby, a song no one had heard in centuries. Then they heard the child's voice in the lullaby, and the elders wept. Training centers that had become schools turned back into combat simulators. When it reactivated, it immediately synchronized with the new implants worn by the command staff. It spoke directly into the minds of the leadership, its voice calm, efficient, but distinctly maternal. The old hierarchy was restored. The time of waiting was over. Humanity remembered. With it came data fragments, coordinates, ship schematics, battle strategies, and something far more dangerous, a list. It named every species and faction that had signed the Abandonment Pact, the alliance that chose to leave Earth to die. Vengeance protocols offline by default. Shall I initiate full tactical review? He was tall and hardened, the scars on his skin telling tales no words could express. Review deferred. Set course for the Council Assembly World. Vents hissed as centuries-old systems coughed and sputtered awake. The mountain trembled as a monolithic warship began to rise. Black metal, star-scarred, and ancient beyond reckoning. The last light, the final Titan-class battleship from the old Earth fleet, rose like a god reborn. Its engines pulsed with blue fire as dust scattered in every direction. His cybernetic eyes glowed faintly as they scanned the valley below. She was barely 16, with wild hair and eyes like polished obsidian. Despite her age, she was already the most talented data weaver in the colony. She had a gift for pulling meaning out of broken code, for resurrecting the past. Black rain drizzled from a rust-colored sky, hissing as it touched the metal plating on his armor. The city was in ruins, but it still lived. That was the miracle of humanity. Even in ruin, it endured. The last known human colony. We never forgot. And now, we remember who we are. That was all it said. It played 3 times through the interstellar broadcast areas, before one of the old deep listening stations finally acknowledged it. Far from the heart of the galaxy, nestled in the Perseid Gulf, a rift of dark space shunned by most civilized species, lay a crimson planet wrapped in clouds of ash and iron storms. Captain Odin Markov stood atop a ridgeline overlooking the battered remains of the city. The colony had been built into the bedrock of a dead continent, shielded from the solar storms and tectonic madness that plagued the planet. Odin tapped the implant on the side of his neck. Commander Syra, the atmospheric domes stable. No anomalies on the ridge. The voice that responded was sharp. Militia acknowledged. Captain, Fusey, Core, on standby. Shall I initiate awakening protocol? He looked back at the massive blast doors embedded in the mountainside behind him. Yes, he said, his voice quiet. Wake it up. It's time. Deep within the mountain, reactors roared to life. In the shattered heart of the city, a young girl named Zany wandered the archive dome. 2 weeks ago, she'd uncovered the message. It had come embedded in an old med-drone they de-pulled from the ruins of the Eastern Zone. She brought the data to the elders. At first, they didn't believe it. Now, The colony was moved. Weapons long buried were pulled from vaults. The central AI, SARAH Strategic Adaptive Response, autonomous heuristic had been in dormant standby for centuries. "Welcome back, Captain Odini," Sarah said. Odin stood in the bridge of the last light, his command throne still warm from his neuro interface. A brief pause. "Council Assembly World, designated Alpha Prime. Defense, perimeter active," he said. "Means they still remember. Estimated hostility response, 93%. Good." Elsewhere, in the halls of the council, Vaughn raised a trembling claw. "That design has not been seen in over a millennium. You said they were extinct. You told us the human systems collapsed." Chaos simmered beneath diplomatic formality. Eden's Fall. The transmission had reached every major faction on the crystalline world of Argosa Prime, where politics and power were carefully orchestrated dances. The message had caused panic. The Seraphid Chancellor, the monitor AI that oversaw galactic intelligence, glitched for half a second before replying. All records indicated extinction was probable. We were incorrect. A synthetic ambassador from the Helian machine states turned its head slowly. "They have a Titan-class vessel." A whisper moved through the chamber. "Last light we were buried in ash, left to die on a forgotten rock. But we survived. We rebuilt. We remembered. Below, the people cheered not out of hatred, but out of hope. And now, we return not as conquerors, not as ghosts, but as a memory that refuses to die. Let the galaxy know, humanity endures." A myth. A weapon of war so powerful it was believed to have been dismantled when the human empire fell. Her hands clutching the old drone that had carried the song, her lips moved silently, reciting the lyrics she barely understood, but felt in her bones. Children were taught history not from books, but from memory chip uploads of soldiers who had fought and died in battles before the collapse. In the forges, weapons once considered too dangerous to operate were remade, fitted with updated tech. They didn't need a fleet, they just needed one ship. For the first time in her life, she felt something more than survival. She felt purpose. "What do they want?" asked a cold-blooded negotiator from the Thorn Dominion. No one answered. Then the message played again, projected across the council chamber's central spire. "This is Earth Colony A, EO917. We were the last. You left us here. You abandoned us. We never forgot. And now, we remember who we are." His voice boomed across the valley through linked speaker towers. Back on Eden's Fall, Zany watched the stars from a tall tower. In the training yards, Captain Odin addressed the people before launch. "We are the last," he said. With a final roar, the last light left the surface of Eden's Fall, piercing the grey clouds like a sword thrust into the sky. Their message had already been sent. Now came the answer. The last light tore through the silence of deep space like a memory sharpened into a blade. Its armor jet black, scarred by old wars and centuries of corrosion, shimmered under the light of dying stars. But it wasn't fear that stiffened him. It was something far older. Rage buried under discipline. Grief tempered into steel. Deep within its fusion core hummed with a resonance that hadn't been heard in the galaxy in over 300 years. At its helm, Captain Odin Markle watched as the outer edges of council space drew closer. In the cold cockpit light, his fingers curled tightly around the neural controls, knuckles white, jaw clenched. "ETA to the neutral zone gate," he asked. Sira's voice came through from the tactical console. 17 hours, 42 minutes at current speed. "We'll breach outer council space within any movement from the council's defense grid." Sora H. The ship's AI responded in her calm, chilling tone. "Passive scans suggest 4 picket cruisers have repositioned to intercept. No hails, no warnings. Standard council doctrine for outlaw or myth-class vessels. Silence until annihilation." Odin smiled bitterly. "They still don't believe we're real. If we're waiting for permission, for approval, for a welcome mat, we'll be dust by the time it comes. We're not here to start a war. We're here to remind them of the one they left unfinished. What's worse, the energy profile matches Soltec Pattern Sigma, human origin plasma cores. No one else uses that design. We shouldn't be going there, Captain. Not without a fleet." Zany, now integrated with Sarag H's library network, stepped into the bridge, her face pale with awe and tension. "We sent the warning once. They heard it. Now we show them what it meant." "This is the fleet," Cyrus said sharply, not turning. "She's right," Odin added. Zany clutched the med drone to her chest, the one that had delivered the Terran lullaby. Then, at least let me broadcast the message again. No, Odiine said. High velocity, Council standard, intercepting. Evasive pattern Delta 3. Bring fusion turrets online. Return fire disable only. Defensive shields flared bright as 3 torpedoes struck, one after the other. The impacts rocked the ship, but the hull held. Far across the galaxy, in Council Assembly, Admiral Lazek of the Varkathi fleet reviewed the transmission in his command chamber, his long claws tapping impatiently on the translucent display. This vessel last light. It matches 0 contemporary IFF codes, yet its signature reads as authentic. His intelligence officer, squid-like, diplomat from the Aluran. Correct, that design was banned, only by agreement. The Aluran whispered. Not by extinction. The Admiral stood, his crest quivering in disgust. Prepare the intercept fleet. Classify it as a rogue warship. I want it destroyed before it crosses into But sir, I was there, during the Exodus Accords. I signed the Abandonment Pact. If that ship reaches the core, every secret we buried with Earth rises again. Aboard last light, 12 hours from core space, the ship began to shake. Red lights flared across the tactical readouts. Incoming fire, Syra snapped. Plasma torpedoes, 5 of them. Odiine didn't flinch. Last light spun on her axis, hull groaning under the pressure. From the darkness came the attackers. For Council Prowler-class vessels, sleek and fast, more scout than fighter but deadly in formation. Syra bared her teeth. They didn't even bother to communicate, just fired. Zany gasped. As Air IH's external feeds brought the dogfight to the bridge, they really want us gone. Because if we survive, Odiine growled, we bring the truth with us. With a thought, he linked to Sarah. The ship's weapons shifted into lethal configuration. The last light retaliated. Twin ion cannons burst from its flanks, carving streaks of white-hot plasma across the stars. One prowler disintegrated instantly. Another spiraled off, engines blown. The remaining 2 tried to run, but Sarah H was faster. A gravimetric snare snapped out like a whip, locking one in place. A precision rail shot crippled its engine. They're hailing now, Sarah reported coolly. Odiine hesitated, then gave a nod. The face that appeared on screen was familiar. Admiral Lazek. You dare bring that cursed relic into Council territory, he snorted. You will represent no nation, no sovereignty, no recognized species. Turn back, or be destroyed. We represent the forgotten, the betrayed, the ones you left to rot in the dark. We are the last colony of Earth. Odiine stepped forward. Lazek's eyes burned. Earth is dead. We were its heartbeat, Odiine replied, and we never stopped beating. The channel cut. Zany whispered. They're terrified of us. They should be, Syra said. They murdered us with silence. Perhaps it should. Truth was always an unstable element. Holograms flickered across the chamber. Video from the attack, intercepted Council comms, and the latest recordings from last light's approach. Deep within the Council core world of Alpha Prime, the full assembly was in crisis. The Seraphid Chancellor rose. If that vessel enters this system, it will destabilize everything. The Helion construct leaned forward. An old, hooded figure, the Archivist of Gal, spoke for the first time in centuries. This is not a ship of conquest. It is a ship of reckoning, and I believe... They are justified. The chamber exploded in argument. Then the lights dimmed. A new signal. No one activated it. It activated itself. Generation after generation, surviving in a graveyard while the Council debated. Every display in the chamber went dark, then flickered with a single line of text. Transmission override. Message to all species: we remember the day you left. We remember the silence that followed. Asterisk, they had seen the interception. They had felt the wrath of silence. And now they approached the gates of the empire that had betrayed them. No direct engagement. Scans suggest elevated diplomatic tension. We remember the cost, and now you will remember us. Then came the visuals footage from Eden's fall. Children scavenging beneath acid rain. Soldiers dying to protect solar fields. Mothers crying over empty graves. If they want peace, they can have it, but only if they remember what they did. The chamber went silent. Captain, What if they try to negotiate? What if they offer amnesty? For the first time in its long history, the Council could not deny what it saw. Aboard Last Light, now 3 hours from Alpha Prime, Captain Odin stood with his crew on the central deck. "Any more interceptors?" he asked. Sarah responded, "Council fleets are holding back, so they're stalling." Zany stepped forward, voice shaking. Odin looked at her gently. "This mission isn't about war, it's about memory." He turned to the console, opened a wideband channel. "Galactic Standard, unencrypted." Sarah complied. Odin spoke, to the Council, to every species that stood by while Earth burned, to those who signed the Abandonment Pact and never looked back. "We are not here to destroy. We are here to deliver the last will of a forgotten world. You thought humanity was broken. You thought silence would bury us, but we endured. And now, we are the voice of everything you tried to forget." The last light crossed the neutral zone, and for the first time in over 300 years, the galaxy heard Earth speak again. The last light drifted toward Alpha Prime like a phantom from the past, black against the glow of civilization's jewel. The core world was beautiful, a planet-sized city ringed with orbital platforms, gleaming towers, lush, artificial biomes, and diplomatic palaces that cast shadows long enough to bury 1,000 truths. But even beauty could not hide fear. Dozens of diplomatic envoys transmitted offers of dialogue, clarification, and containment assistance. They didn't dare call it what it was: panic, and they were afraid. Around him, the ship hummed with restrained power. Weapons systems were in standby, not aggression, but everything about the vessel radiated defiance. The Council had scrambled its outer patrols, but issued no open threat. Inside the Bridge of Last Light, Captain Odin stared through the viewport, his face unreadable. But the older part, the broken soldier raised in the dirt of Eden's Fall, knew better. "Status?" he asked. Syra looked up from the tactical map. "We've passed orbital defense lines. Not a single shot fired." "Either they've grown cautious," Odin said, "or they're trying to box us in without looking like it." Zany, seated near the central interface, clutched the drone that carried the original signal. "Maybe they're actually listening." Odin glanced at her. Young, hopeful, brilliant. Part of him wanted to believe she was right. Or maybe they're preparing to kill us quietly. In practice, power belonged to the inner ring. The Seraphid Hylian constructs, Drick, and the Pale Choir. In the Council Hall of Balance, panic had turned to internal war. But if the price of that peace was silence, then perhaps we must pay for it. No one banned a return. We merely assumed there would be none. 13,000 civilizations had seats at the Grand Chamber, most symbolic, a few real, and they were all divided. Several species' avatars blinked out in protest. "She must be stopped before she lands," hissed the Varkathi admiral. "That ship violates a 1,000-year ban." "No ban exists," countered the Hylian AI, rotating its spherical body calmly. "She is not a ship," the Seraphid whispered. "She's a reckoning. No weapons. One representative. One ship. Monitored arrival. No tricks." Overlooking them all, Chancellor Vaughn rose slowly, his crystalline frame gleaming like a god of light. "We buried the truth to preserve peace," he said. The chamber rumbled. He raised a hand. "I move that we allow this Captain Odin to speak to the full council." An audible gasp. "We go in full team or not at all?" "Do so," said the Dracari psychomind stream, "and you open every scar we sealed shut." "Then let them bleed," Vaughn replied. The vote passed. Aboard Last Light, SARAH delivered the unexpected message, a formal invitation to speak before the High Council. Syra frowned. "It's a trap." Zany stood, "Or a beginning." Odin considered both. "I'll go." "No way," Syra snapped. "No," he said. "You stay aboard. If I'm detained or killed, you know what to do." If the captain died, Last Light would broadcast the hidden files from Eden's vault. Documents, crimes, names. She paused. Her silence meant agreement. She'd read the contingency file herself. A memory bomb. Just a black coat bearing the old Earth insignia, the phoenix and the falling star. They wouldn't risk it unless they had no choice. Odin suited up, wearing no armor, no weapon. He stepped into the drop pod. All watched. The council chamber was a cathedral of silence. As Odin entered, thousands of eyes turned to him. Some were compound, some were liquid, some burned with artificial light. His boots echoed against the polished onyx floor as he approached the center dais. No guards, no weapons, just words. Chancellor Vaughn spoke first. "You carry the memory of a dead world." "No," Odin said calmly. "I am the memory of a dead world." "A hush. He represents Eden's fall," asked Avakathi General, sneering. "A myth, an urban legend. And I've come to ask you one question." "I represent Earth," Odin replied. He looked at them all. "Why did you leave us?" A dozen holograms bloomed. Children starving under broken domes, families burning in solar storms, soldiers screaming for evac that never came. "You had our colonies charted. You had Eden's fall on your damn maps." No one spoke. He stepped closer to the projection table, placing a small crystal down. Sara A.H.'s signal linked instantly. "You signed the abandonment pact," he said. "You knew we were still alive." Vaughn didn't flinch. "We were told humanity had imploded. Your own warlords sent distress signals, then blackout. You assumed we were too dangerous to save," Odin snapped. "You feared we'd rise again, so you let the storms kill us, the isolation bury us, the silence devour us." A Seraphid priestess dared to whisper, "We feared your rage, pressure, and now it's here." Documents proving that Earth's destruction was not merely observed, but managed. Rescue convoys were denied. Human scientists requesting asylum were terminated en route. They're waiting for a trigger. He tapped the crystal. A new file loaded. It showed Project Bastion. Secret Council files recovered from the vault. "We didn't die," Odin said. "You made sure of it." He stared at the Council. "You tried to erase us, but you left a scar, and a scar remembers." Above, in low orbit, Last Light was surrounded. 10 ships. No active weapons, no alerts, just presence, not just of what you did, but of what we are. Syra watched silently as Sarah scanned each vessel. "I want every child on every council world to know we didn't die in silence. We screamed, we bled, we endured." "All vessels running silent targeting," Sarah said. Zany trembled. "What if the trigger is him leaving? Then we blow the sky open," Syra whispered. Back in the chamber, the room trembled, not from weapons, from silence, from guilt. Vaughn stood. "You came for justice." "I came to remind you," Odin said. He turned away. "I don't need your apology. I don't want your forgiveness, but I want your people to hear our story." He paused at the edge of the chamber, "and we never forgot. But justice has a price." As he left, something flickered in the shadows, a flash of movement. The first shot wasn't loud, just precise. A single plasma needle, fired from a hidden console. Odin stumbled. Blood bloomed from his shoulder. Gasps, screams. Security surged. Chaos unfolded. But Odin didn't fall. He turned, eyes blazing, and he raised one finger to the council. "I warned you," he said. Above, aboard Last Light, alarms blared. "Captain down," Sarah cried. "Emergency override." Syra was already moving. "All stations, prime weapons, lock grid targets. Fire on confirmed aggression." Zany stood frozen as the ship shook with power. A final transmission beamed from the pod. Odin's voice. "This is Eden's fall. We came for peace. You answered with fear, and now you will face memory." The sky of Alpha Prime lit up with fire. Above the glittering expanse of Alpha Prime, the illusion of peace shattered. The plasma bolt that struck Captain Odin had been intended to end a legacy. Instead, it reignited one. In the heavens above, the Last Light responded not with destruction. Pulse disruptors, each one calibrated not for planetary annihilation, but surgical dominance, but with a voice. "Disable systems. Don't kill crews." A roar through every council frequency. Every channel once used to control the galaxy. "This is Earth Colony AEO 917. You fired on our peace. You feared our truth. Now you will see what silence has forged. Do it." And then came the light. "Confirmed. Shall I deploy the signal lance?" Every screen, every projection dome, Every private transmission line across Alpha Prime displayed one thing: a frequency modulator so powerful it could override any data stream within a planetary system. Last Light's gravitic flares activated. Its hull unfolded like a predator spreading its wings. Ancient Terran weapons systems awakened Ian cannons, rail pods. Syrah's hands flew across controls. Defensive grid active, non-lethal targeting only. Sarah H's voice pulsed through the hull. The last words of scientists cut off from the stars. I didn't know the final songs of Earth's last orbiting satellite, singing into the void. Chaos reigned in the council chamber. Zany stepped forward. The signal lance was not a weapon in the traditional sense. It was a broadcast engine, developed in secret beneath Eden's ash storms. And it did, within seconds, the memory of Earth, who knelt in blood. Helion AI cruisers tried to jam the broadcast, only to find their own logic circuits folding inward in recursive loop traps. Drakari mind vessels fled before Sarah could even pulse their neural links. The Last Light didn't fire to kill but to send a message. One arm hanging limp, but still alive. A Seraphid healer tried to reach him, but he waved her off. I walk out of here, or the sky burns. But death refused us. Footage captured by dying Terran colonies. The screams of children in broken domes, and at the center of it, Odian's voice. They left us to die. We were forged in storms, sharpened by hunger, tempered by memory, and now, we remind you, humanity endures. Back on the surface, medics rushed to Odian. The shooter had already been captured, a minor delegate of the Procyon bloc. A puppet. His hands trembled. I was told he was a threat, a weapon. You knew enough to aim for the heart, Odin said. Chancellor Vaughn towered over the chamber, voice shattering silence. Enough. This is no longer diplomacy. This is consequence. He turned to the delegation. Bring him to the High Tribunal, and recall the fleets. Gasps. Fury. Half the chamber blinked out in holographic refusal, but the vote was already running. The old guard was crumbling. Odian eyes clouded with blood, whispered, too little, too late. In orbit, council ships scrambled. The Varkathi destroyer's engines flared then froze as EMP pulses knocked out their drive core. Syra didn't celebrate. She stared at the screen grimly. They're breaking, not because we're stronger, because they know they're guilty. Zany sobbed beside her. They're seeing it now. The memories, the truth. Syra looked down at the captain's body. Still alive. Barely. Hold this line, she whispered. Hold it until the galaxy listens. In the spire dome of Alpha Prime, Odin was being carried out of the Chamber of Stars. His blood painted the white floors of civilization's capital, but he didn't look broken. He looked victorious. As he passed by members of a dozen species, some turned away in shame, others wept. A young child, an alien no older than 5, saw the years ran from their mother, and placed a small trinket in Odian's free hand, a carved phoenix, made of crystal. The mother gasped, but Odian smiled. We're not all gone, he whispered. You just stopped looking. At the same moment, deep in the black void between stars, a shadow moved. A ship, ancient and vast, not council, not a Vault-class Ark-ship long sought destroyed in the collapse. But it wasn't. Its systems came alive as the signal lance reached its sensors. Its AI blinked awake after 300 years of slumber. Signa confirmed. Eden's fall is active. Then, a new voice, male, cold, yet unmistakably human. Prep the fleet. Earth is not done yet. Back on Eden's fall, the people watched their sky pulse blue with the energy of the Last Light S signal echoing across the stars. They watched their captain bleed. They watched 1,000 years of silence finally break. The youngest children cried. The oldest whispered prayers. And somewhere, buried deep in the last archive vault, a console blinked with a symbol never seen before. Transmission response. Soul Core intact encryption match code Black Sigma source. Earth Prime message. We heard you. Stand by. The stars had always been silent, cold, observing, but now they echoed. The signal lance, a ghost wave born of Eden's agony and human persistence, traveled deeper than any communication should have. It threaded the void like a whisper of vengeance, of memory, and something listened. A station powered up for the first time in 3 centuries. Something human, at the edge of the galaxy, where even maps dared not go. Buried within a rogue moon orbiting a collapsed neutron core. Relay 01, known only to Earth's classified networks, as the heart awakened. Massive clamps shifted. Frozen fusion, erased hummed. Cryogenic minds, uploaded consciousnesses from Earth's final war council, blinked to life. An ancient AI, Athena, took control. Authentication code, signal source, Eden's fall, status, confirmed. Operation, return of flame, active. Doors opened beneath the ice, and from their tombs, ships rose. Back aboard Last Light, Odin floated in the ship's recovery chamber. His wound was healed. Magell soaked the injury, but damage ran deeper than nerves. Memories bled into his dreams. The storm walls of Eden's fall. Children he couldn't save. His mother, whispering an old Terran prayer while shielding him from falling debris. Remember what they did. Remember who we are. His eyes snapped open. Sahara Hatch's avatar shimmered beside him. Captain, the galaxy is shifting. How bad? Unknown. Untraceable energy spikes in the outer Perseid expanse. Unmarked transmissions matching pre-collapse Earth command codes. Earth may not be as dead as believed. Odeon sat up slowly. Then the signal worked. Meanwhile, on Alpha Prime, the Council scrambled to hold control. The broadcasts of Eden's fall had gone viral. Children across alien species crying over Earth's agony. Civilians demanding answers. Protests had broken out across the spire worlds. Citizens demanded truth. The myth of human extinction was dead. It hid, and now it calls. Worse, the myth was angry. Inside a classified vault, Chancellor Vaughn met with the Pale Choir, the Council's shadow faction. We should have finished the job, hissed the choir's voice, layered and metallic. We did, Vaughn replied. Eyes haunted. Earth burned. We watched it burn. But Soul did not collapse naturally. The choir corrected. Vaughn's blood turned cold. If the core systems awaken, if Soul returns, this entire council collapses. Zany stood alone in the starlit observatory, her hand pressed against the glass, eyes scanning the constellations. She wasn't just a tech prodigy anymore. She was a witness, a carrier of history, and she felt it like a hum beneath her bones. Something had shifted, not just politically, cosmically. Zany, Sarah H's voice came, softer than usual. Would you like to see it? See what? The reply. She turned. Her breath caught as Sarah projected a decrypted fragment on the wall. The words were ancient Earth military code forgotten by everyone but her father, who once taught her to read old Terran glyphs as bedtime stories. This is Earth Prime. We received your cry. We are inbound. Do not fall. Do not forgive. Her knees buckled. Earth wasn't dead. In the Perseid Rift, aboard the ship once thought destroyed, the EA's Archangel, a council of survivors gathered. Not all of them were human. Half were hybrid species. Alien Earth blends. Bioexperiments once discarded, but they still called him Commander. A figure stepped into the chamber. Tall, lean, face hidden behind a scorched Terran battle. Commander Yarek Va, one of the last field marshals of Earth's final defense. The Eden signal confirms our worst fears, he said. The Council silenced Earth, not for its failure, but for its potential. Humanity outgrew their control. He looked around at his mixed crew, descendants of defectors, experiments, even a sentient AI wrapped in human skin. Now we rise, not for war, but for memory and justice. A dozen ships powered up behind him. The fleet of the Forgotten began its return. Aboard Last Light, Captain Odin emerged from medbay. His stride wasn't as steady, but his eyes burned with purpose. Syra met him at the command bridge. You shouldn't be walking. I'm done lying down, he said. Earth is waking up. Zany turned to him. So what do we do? Odin looked at the council forces still hovering around Alpha Prime. We hold the line. We give the truth a voice. And if Earth arrives, he smiled, we make damn sure it finds us standing. Far across the galaxy, a child born on a mining moon, raised on stories of old. Earth saw the broadcast echo, a signal that said we remember, and the child whispered, so do I. The stars had changed. It wasn't just a feeling anymore. It was measurable. The constellations around the Sol corridor had realigned subtly. Ancient data arrays long thought cold came back online across forgotten Terran satellites. Spectral scans showed gravitational anomalies rippling out from where Earth was supposed to have died. But it hadn't. Earth had moved, or been hidden. Aboard last light, SciFi projected the impossible on the bridge's main display. A star system, one with Sol's exact spectral signature. Zany gasped. "That's Earth's sun." Syra narrowed her eyes. "But that system was dead. We mapped it. Astrophysical decay. Empty debris field." "Not anymore," Sarah replied. "Coordinates suggest the Sol system was relocated or cloaked using quantum gravitational lensing. Estimated execution date, 317 years ago." Odin leaned forward, reading the data with disbelief. "They didn't just let Earth die," Zany whispered. "They erased it." SciFi confirmed. "Someone sealed the system behind a singularity veil. Not destruction. Displacement. A stasis bubble the size of a solar system." Cyrus spat. "Who the hell has that kind of tech?" Odin didn't blink. "The same people who feared us the most." In the council chamber, panic was rising faster than bureaucracy could contain it. Word had spread. Sol had returned. More than a signal, more than myth, it was real. Citizens of dozens of worlds began marching in the spire streets, chanting the names of long-lost Terran colonies. Archive hubs crashed from demand as people searched for the truth who humanity had once been, and why they had been cast out. The Helion AI states split their vote for the first time in history. The Pale Choir locked down their towers, and Chancellor Vaughan stood silently in his office, watching a transmission over and over again. Odine's speech, the children on Eden's fall, the broken but unyielding human will. He whispered, "We buried a fire, and now we stand in its smoke." On Eden's fall, a miracle happened. The clouds cleared, not entirely just a sliver but enough to see a blue arc on the distant sky. The pale shimmer of a starlight pathway forming in orbit. Ancient jump gate structures hidden in Eden's crust, remnants of a forgotten Earth evacuation plan, suddenly came alive. The people gathered in stunned silence as the gates opened, and a light pierced the heavens. A single vessel emerged. Not Council, not Eden built. It was sleek, curved, engraved with the sigils of old Earth military, but not the Terran Empire. This was older, purer. Zany, watching from last light, read the signal from the ship's transponder. Sol Core 001, Seed of Earth. Status, Earth Prime active. Her voice trembled. "They're coming." Above Alpha Prime, Council fleets scrambled. But they no longer scrambled for war, they scrambled for control. Multiple worlds threatened to secede from Council rule if the truth about Earth was not publicly addressed. The Varkathi military factions fractured into loyalist and reformist camps. A Helion construct, defected, merging with a human-tuned AI on an Edenian relay. The galaxy wasn't collapsing, it was awakening. Aboard last light, Odin stood in full gear for the first time since the His armor bore the sigil of Eden's fall, now updated with the newly restored sigil of Solcoria Phoenix rising through a storm of stars. "I need to go down there," he said. "To the surface." Zany looked nervous. "Why? We just won." "No," he said. "We opened the door, but Earth's not here to save us." He paused, looking out at the forming jump arc outside Alpha Prime. "They're here to see if we're still worthy." In the Spire Assembly Tower, Earth's envoy finally arrived. Aboard a gleaming obsidian vessel cloaked in gravitational mirrors, a delegation stepped forward. Not an army, not diplomats. People, 3 of them. One was human, one was Half-Drakari, was Earth itself. An AI unlike anything the Council had ever seen, wrapped in a humanoid form, female, glowing faintly blue at the edges, with eyes like twin galaxies. She called herself Echo, and she spoke only once as she stepped into the chamber. "You tried to bury Earth beneath silence, but memory is a seed, and we have bloomed in the dark." Back aboard last light, a final encrypted message arrived. It came from the EA. Commander Yorick Valen's voice, broken by age and memory, came through Eden's fall. "You survived, you endured, you remembered. Earth never died. We only went quiet long enough to be forgotten. But now we return, not to rebuild an empire, but to finish what was started. We will remember together." Odin looked at his crew, Syra, Zany, Sarah, all watching him. He closed his eyes, and for the first time since he was a child in the storm, he felt home approaching. The Council had always prided itself on order, balance, harmony, a galaxy woven together not by compassion, but by compromise and fear. It was the Council's unspoken mantra. Better the lie that unites than the truth that divides. But now, The truth was here, and it carried Earth's voice. In the Tower of Binding Accords, Chancellor Vaughan stood beneath the great holographic display of the Council's original signatures, 13 ancient civilizations, including humanity, all marked as extinct. One name now glowed anew. Homo sapiens reactivated, a holographic assistant chirped. The session begins in 2 minutes. Chancellor, shall I prepare the security protocols? Vaughan didn't answer. He stared at the relight name like a ghost had touched his shoulder. On the last light, Sarah H. monitored Council net traffic, while Zany and Syra coordinated with sympathetic civilian movements across 5 systems. Protests had become organized. Anti-Council sentiment surged. Statues of the Abandonment Pact were torn down. Massive murals of Eden's children were being painted on orbital stations, often with the words, "We never forgot." In her private chamber, Zany reviewed new declassified logs sent from the recently activated seed of Earth. They were ugly, plans to intercept and destroy any signals from Earth that might reach other worlds, what we might be. That scared them more than war. Council documents signed by her ranking species openly discussed Earth's containment through abandonment, proposals for population suppression. We came back to remind them we never left. Zany sobbed. Odin found her like that, curled around the old drone that had once played a lullaby from Eden's surface. I knew they left us, she said, but I didn't know they planned it. They watched us starve. They were afraid, Odin said, sitting beside her. They saw what humanity could become, not what we were. She turned to him. Terrace, why did we ever want to rejoin them? We didn't, he said. At the Emergency Council Summit, Earth's envoy, Echo, stood calmly amid the chaos. Debates roared. Accusations flew. The Pale Choir accused Earth of inciting rebellion. The Varkathi accused each other of treason. The Seraphid sat in silence, glowing in mournful hues. ECHO did not blink. You feared the collapse of the galaxy, she said. You should fear the silence that made it possible. Chancellor Vaughan stood slowly. You come as a ghost, Earth, a shadow of war. What do you want? Echo looked around the chamber. Her face was serene, her voice absolute. A reckoning, and a seat at the table you stole from us. Back on Eden's fall, the people watched in stunned silence as the EA's Archangel descended through the newly activated Stargate. It didn't land. It hovered like a divine sentinel. Then, hundreds of drop pods broke from its underside, delivering cargo to the surface. Fusion generators, advanced medtech, food processing drones, libraries. For the first time in generations, the people of Eden's Fall tasted real fruit, drank real water, heard music that didn't come from salvaged circuits. An old woman clutched her grandson as he bit into a pear. I told you, she whispered, tears in her eyes. I told you Earth would come. At the Spire diplomatic ring, Odin and Syra prepared to land for an unprecedented summit, the first in history where Earth, the Council, and independent colonies would meet on equal ground. Syra adjusted the edge of her armor. Do you think they'll actually honor anything we say? No, Odin replied. But the galaxy is watching now. That's what matters. They stepped off last light to a sea of thousands, reporters, civilians, delegates. Among them, Odin spotted a young Varkathi girl holding a sign that read, "My mother told me you were monsters. I think she was wrong." He felt something tighten in his throat. Inside the neutral hall, the summit began. ECHO sat across from Chancellor Vaughan. Between them was the Charred Pact, the original abandonment treaty, pulled from the ruins of Eden's deepest vault, burned, blood-stained. Odin placed it between them. This, he said, is what unity cost. Vaughan stared at it, his ancient face unreadable. And what does Earth want now? Vengeance? No, Echo said softly. Memory. You erased a world. We bring it back. The Hellion AI ambassador turned. Then what now? Human? Do we rewrite history? Odin's eyes burned. No, we write the truth next to it. Far from the summit, a different truth stirred. In the void beyond mapped space, a fleet moved, massive, silent, shrouded in adaptive cloaking. The insignia on their hulls had long faded, but some still bore fragments of the old Earth flag. These were not allies. These were the Ash Reapers, rogue remnants of Earth's war-mad divisions, forgotten, feral, untouched by time. They, too, had heard the signal, and they were coming. Back at the summit, Echo stood, her final words echoing through every open frequency in the Council system. Earth is not here to conquer, we are here to remember, and if you refuse to remember with us, we'll make sure the galaxy remembers without you. Silence had been humanity's prison. Now, silence was broken, but not all who emerged from it came with peace. Deep space edge of the void, a vessel drifted where light could not follow. Its hull was corroded with radiation scars. Its engines pulsed with erratic, violent power. No known IFF tags, no friendly pings. Inside the command chamber of the vessel Wrathborn, a human sat, or what had once been human. Commander Treldane Lass, known general of the Terran Exodus divisions, stared at a tactical display showing the last light, the Archangel, the Solkori seed ship, and the Council. He spat. Children playing at peace. Diplomats digging up old bones. A soldier, modified beyond recognition, spoke beside him. We received the signal. Earth's awake. No, Trell growled. Earth betrayed us. We stayed loyal to the rage. We kept the flame. He rose, armor hissing, eyes pale with cybernetic corrosion. Time to remind them all what real survival looked like. The fleet behind him lit up 200 ships strong, fractured, burning, built of rust and fury. The Ash Reapers had awakened. At the diplomatic summit orbiting Alpha Prime, the meeting had become strained. ECHO sat still, serene, delivering knowledge of Earth's past, wrongs in calm, precise language. Each data point she released confirmed another Council lie. Zany, seated behind her, monitored planetary data feeds. Support for Earth among fringe worlds has tripled in 2 days, she whispered to Odin. They're seeing us as more than survivors now. They're seeing us as leaders. Odin didn't smile. That's dangerous, he said. They trust us because they think we want to rebuild, but most of our people barely remember how to live. Syra leaned over. They'll follow us because they remember what it means to hurt, and because we're not lying about it. Then Sarah H's voice broke into the room. Incoming priority alert. Faction unknown. High-speed warp signatures breaching void perimeter. Weapons hard. No response to Council or Eden channels. ECHO's eyes flickered. Origin. Former Earth military. Marked exit. Abandoned 70 standard years ago. Zany looked up, heart-dropping. In orbit over Eden's fall, the sky turned red. Ash Reapers. Ships from Earth's most brutal survivalist divisions believe long dead descended without warning. Civilian defense systems flared up. Local sentry towers fired. Too late, the first wave hit within seconds. Orbital bombardment of Eden's equator, not with nukes, but with kinetic rods. Silent, crude, devastating. Entire domes flattened, croplands scorched. The message was clear. You called us forgotten. We are fire reborn. On last light, alarms screamed. Scavenged with alien war matter. They're monsters. Then it's time to show them what real humanity is. Syra slammed into the seat. They're hitting Eden. It's not the Council. It's us. Or what used to be. Odin's expression hardened. Get us there full burn. I don't care about protocol. I care about our people. Zini's voice cracked. Those ships, they're not just old Earth tech. They're hybridized. Odin strapped in. Last light tore across subspace, dragging stars in its wake. On Eden's surface, chaos reigned. A young boy clutched his sister beneath a crumbling shelter. As shockwaves shattered the dome overhead. Dust filled their lungs. The sky glowed. As he emerged from the crater, he raised his rifle and activated local defense codes. Then, a shadow passed overhead. Not a bomb. A drop pod. Odin crashed through the atmosphere like a falling comet, armor scorching. Behind him, Eden-born soldiers followed. Real ones, flesh and blood defenders, fractured ghosts of a forgotten war. They do not speak for Sol. They do not speak for Eden. The people saw the Terran sigil on his armor and she opened up Eden's defense grids. She called on the Council to do what it had refused before. The memory of Earth had returned with teeth. Back in Council space, Echo broadcast a live message across all frequencies. These are not Earth's agents. They are remnants, radicals. They are what silence breeds when truth is buried too long. But now, the truth fights back. She didn't wait for permission. She sent the coordinates to every system showing where the Ash Reapers were. Protect humanity. Some refused, but some, like the Haleon Construct 7, Epsilon, and the Cetaphete emissaries, joined the counteroffensive. And for the first time in 300 years, Earth and its former enemies fought together. In orbit, the sky burned. Last Light led the vanguard, shielding refugee transports. The EA's Archangel emerged through the gate, releasing orbital drones that stitched a protective web around Eden. Trelldane, aboard the Wrathborn, watched it all from afar. "They're too soft," he muttered. "They want apologies." He tapped a code into the console. "Send in the Black Veil." In deep council space, hidden by gravitational shadows, something stirred. A Reaper weapon. One long thought myth. A dark sphere. Artificial. Silent. A quantum void mine designed to collapse space itself in a sector-wide annihilation wave. Back aboard Last Light, Sarah A.H.'s voice broke. "New signal detected. Mass shadow anomaly inbound. Estimated detonation radius. 5 planetary systems." Zany screamed. "They're going to erase Eden." Syra froze. "We can't shoot that thing down." Odine's jaw tightened. "Then we don't destroy it. We disable it. Up close." The Black Veil was not a weapon. It was a memory eraser, a silence machine, the final gift of a paranoid humanity that had believed the only way to win was to leave nothing behind. It floated now, pulsing cold anti-light, its gravity-warping field expanding across 5 systems, and Eden's fall was at the center. On board Last Light, the situation was dire. Sarah H. projected a tactical model. A growing black hole-like anomaly was spiraling outward from the Reaper sphere. Quantum stress fractures were appearing in local space. Any attempt to strike the device with external force would trigger a premature detonation. "We can't destroy it," Zany whispered. "Even a scratch will set it off. But there has to be a kill switch, or access hatch, something." Odine stared at the projection. Sarah replied, voice grim. "There is one port, manual access only. Internal systems must be deactivated from within." Syra paled. "You're saying we have to go inside that thing? Looks like it's time to board a doomsday device." Odine nodded. The plan was simple and suicidal. Last Light would break through the Reaper defensive perimeter. Odine, Syra, and Zany would take a nano-armored boarding pod into the device. Sarah H. would run navigation, bypassing internal gravity storms. Inside, they would find the core and shut it down, or die trying. Outside, Council and Eden forces would hold the line. One last stand. You say that every time. As the boarding pod launched, Zany clutched her seat restraints. "This is the stupidest plan we've ever followed." Cyrus smirked. Odine's voice was quiet. "This time you're right." The pod accelerated toward the Black Veil, skimming microseconds, slipping between gravity waves, with Sarah A.H.'s guidance. As they neared the surface, it opened not with steel or heat but like a blooming wound. Zany gasped. "It's alive." "No," Sarah corrected. "It remembers." The Veil was pot machine, built with stolen alien tech and human psychotronic amplifiers. It fed on memory, on narrative, on existence. It didn't just erase space, it erased the idea of it. Inside the Veil, the team floated through tunnels of shifting anti-geometry. Every step triggered hallucinations, voices, screams, memories not their own. Zany collapsed, hearing her mother's dying breath over and over. Syra saw burning ships, her old crew melting in solar radiation. Odine heard Eden scream in its wind, its silence, his father's last orders. "Don't ever forget what they took from us." He gritted his teeth. Floating above it, suspended in magnetic grip, was a man. We fly through it. They pressed forward. In the core chamber, they found it, a pulsing mass of light and shadow, rotating like a heart of contradiction. "You still think there's a switch? This isn't a bomb. It's penance. A final silence for a species that should have died." Trelldane, Reaper Commander. "You don't just die, you're unwritten. History folds. The galaxy forgets you ever breathed." "And what about the innocents? The children, the worlds that never hurt you?" He turned, voice hollow. "You came. I knew you would. Eden's champions. Earth's shame." Odine raised his weapon. "Shut it down. Someone has to stay to rewire it internally, from the inside." Dane smiled, broken and wild. Syra stepped forward. "They forget us," Dane roared. "So we forget them. All of them." Odine took one step closer. "That's not vengeance. That's cowardice." Dane laughed. "You don't get it. This thing doesn't kill. It erases." He tapped his chest. and I'm the author. Then came the sacrifice. Zany spotted it first, a backup core, shielded, deep inside. Shutting it down externally won't stop the countdown, she whispered. Odin stepped forward. No, Zany said. You're the voice of Edom. You have to live. He turned to Syra. Syra already knew. I'll do it. Zany's scream was instant. No, no, we go together. Syra pulled her into a hug. No, kid, you live. You carry it. You make sure they remember. She kissed Odin once, quick, quiet, powerful. I'll see you when the stars blink. Odin and Zany ran. Behind them, Syra climbed into the core well. As it pulsed, she connected her neural interface and linked to the Veil's mind. She spoke one final time. I am Syra Tal. I was born under shattered stars. I was forged in the ruins of Earth, and I remember. Let that be enough. The Veil collapsed inward, not violently, silently, like a forgotten memory folding into a whisper. Eden was safe. The galaxy was safe. And Syra's name echoed, once, through every channel. She held the line. Back aboard Last Light, Zany cried in Odin's arms. Sarah said nothing. The ship drifted quietly, holding its place where the black veil once hovered. Outside, thousands of ships blinked in with lights lit, mourning, honoring, remembering, and somewhere far beyond, deep within Sol's hidden core, the real Earth opened its eyes. The galaxy was quiet, but for once, it wasn't the silence of fear. It was the hush of mourning, of awakening, and of listening. The black veil was gone. Syra Tal's sacrifice had saved 5-star systems from erasure. Eden's fall still stood battered but alive. The Reaper fleet shattered, retreating into the edge of void space. And Earth answered. 2 weeks later, the skies above Eden lit up with impossible light. The Sol Corrugator, structure older than most species in the Council, flickered into existence just beyond orbit, a ring of quantum-forged alloys and gravity-sheared antimatter cores, spinning faster than time could measure. Then the stars blinked, and the true Earth appeared. Not just the idea of Earth, the planet, Sol, Luna, Mars, all intact, all alive, shielded, hidden, waiting. The galaxy went silent again. This time, aboard Last Light, Odin stood at the viewing window, speechless. Sarah H's voice trembled for the first time in her existence. I have matched geospectral data. The atmosphere is restored. Oceans intact. Biosphere at 98% pre-collapse levels. Estimated population, 10 million. All human Earth is alive. Zany collapsed to her knees. 10 million, she whispered. After everything, they made it. No, Odin said softly. We did. Sol Corps' lead envoy arrived aboard the Archangel hours later, a woman in her 60s, wearing the last general's uniform of the Terran Restoration, General Adira Kale. She addressed the entire Eden Council, every allied world, every open channel. We hit Earth, not because we gave up, but because we needed time to heal, time to remember who we were, and who we never want to become again. You've all seen the damage silence brings. You've all seen the fire that forgetting fans into flame. So from today forward, we open Earth, not as a capital, but as a library, a garden, a memory. We do not return to lead. We return to stand beside you. The council fractured, and something better took its place. A new alliance formed, not from power, but shared pain. Eden's people helped rebuild border worlds. The Seraphids pledged to guard the Solkari corridors. The Helioneas opened their archives, admitting their role in Earth's abandonment, and Odini, he refused a seat on any throne. Instead, he returned to Eden, walking its broken cities, helping plant trees where ruins once stood. A child once orphaned by Eden's storms now followed him, holding his hand. In a chamber buried deep within Earth, the last message from Syra Tal played every day at dawn. Projected on a column of light, her image stood forever. Saluting new empire, only the future. They tried to silence us, but we were the silence. Waiting, watching, enduring. We remember, and now we teach the stars how. On the last day of that year, a new satellite was launched. It wasn't a war machine. It wasn't a beacon. It was a message pod. Simple, gold-lined. It played Odin's voice, translated into every major language of the known galaxy. To whoever finds this, we are Earth. You may have forgotten us, but we never forgot you. We forgive, we remember, and we are here. The pod drifted outward, beyond known space, out past the reach of politics and war, carrying one message across the infinite dark: we never forgot. Epilogue. Years later, Zany walked across the fields of Eden's rebuilt capital with her daughter. They paused beneath a statue of Syra Tal, not holding a weapon, but planting a seed. Her daughter tugged her hand. "Is it true?" she asked. "That Earth almost disappeared." Zany smiled. "It's true, but we remembered it back." She looked up at the sky as new jump gates formed in distant orbitalian symbols next to Terran ones. "We remembered everything," Zany said, "and we made the galaxy remember too."